I told my older brother he would never hold the key to my house again while the dishwasher hummed behind us like nothing had happened. Mom's Sunday chicken sat dry and picked over on the table. She kept folding a paper napkin into smaller squares, eyes wet, mouth shut. I held out my hand. The spare key dangled from Grant's old football keychain. The one he had since high school. He laughed once, like he'd made a joke. I didn't move. When he finally dropped it into my palm, I said the part I still hear at night. If I ever have a kid, you won't be alone with them either. The room went dead quiet. Grant called me ungrateful. Mom started crying but didn't defend either of us. And the worst part was, I wasn't even sure yet what he had done. I only knew things in my new house had been moving when I wasn't home. Before all that, I was proud of that townhouse in a way I didn't know how to say out loud. It was impressive. 2 bedrooms, a narrow kitchen, a patio barely big enough for a folding chair. The fence leaned. The upstairs carpet had a worn path down the middle. For weeks the whole place smelled like paint. Still, every morning after my shift, I'd unlock the door, step inside, and stand there breathing it in. Mine. I had spent years renting rooms in other people's houses, keeping my food on one refrigerator shelf and pretending I didn't mind being temporary. So when the first mortgage bill came, I stuck it on my fridge with a pizza shop magnet. The number scared me, but I stared at it like a diploma. My payment, my quiet, my luck. I worked nights as a shift manager at a medical distribution center off the interstate. Gloves, syringes, wound care kits, pallets stacked under fluorescent lights. Around 3 in the morning, I'd walk the aisles with cold coffee in my hand, checking manifests while forklifts beeped and younger guys complained about their schedules. I was the funny one. I was the steady one. If something jammed, broke, or didn't add up, people came to me. That had always been my job in the family. 2. Mom had been widowed long enough that people stopped asking how she was holding up. Grant was the one everyone noticed. He had Dad's laugh, Dad's shoulders, Dad's talent for making strangers feel included. He mowed Mom's lawn, changed porch bulbs, carried trash cans to the curb, and made her laugh at Sunday dinner. I was the one she called when an insurance letter confused her, when the water heater clicked all night, when her knee swelled and she needed a ride to the clinic. I kept a cheap toolbox in my trunk because somebody always needed a hinge tightened or a drain cleared. "Can you look at this when you get a minute?" Mom would ask. I always had a minute. Grant would grin and say, "Little brother's good with the boring stuff." Most of the time, I let it pass. Being easy had become my place at the table. I didn't argue. I didn't ask for much. I paid copays. Mom pretended not to see and listened while Grant talked about plans that never quite happened. When I bought the townhouse, I hoped they might see me differently. Mom hugged me in the empty living room and whispered, "Your father would be proud." Grant tapped the wall and said, "Thin as cardboard. But hey, it's yours." I laughed because they did. Before they left, I gave Mom a spare key. "For emergencies," I said. She closed her fingers around it carefully. Of course, back then, I still believed a locked door meant the same thing to everyone. The first thing I noticed was the thermostat. I came home a little after 7 on a Thursday morning, shoes dragging, shirt damp from unloading a late truck. All I wanted was a shower, eggs, and the kind of sleep that erases a person. But the hallway felt warm. I kept the house at 68 because I slept during the day, and because the mortgage had made me religious about small numbers. The gray screen on the wall said 74. I stood there with my keys in my hand, listening. Nothing. Just the refrigerator humming and a car passing outside. "Idiot," I muttered, because blaming myself was familiar. Maybe it bumped it. Maybe it'd come home half awake and changed it. I pressed the arrow down until the number went back where it belonged. 2 mornings later, the porch light was on. That bothered me more. My father used to walk through our old house before bed touching switches with 2 fingers, saying, "Electric company doesn't need charity from us." It'd become him without meaning to. Porch light off after sunrise. Always. I stood on the sidewalk, looking at that pale bulb glowing against the morning. Inside, I caught the faint smell of lemon floor cleaner. Not strong, just enough to stop me. I hadn't mopped that week. I had thought about it, then chosen sleep like a grown man losing an argument with his body. The mail was wrong too. I kept it stacked on the little table by the door until I had patience to sort it. That morning, a grocery flyer sat on top with its edge turned open, like somebody had started ripping it unstopped. Junk mail, nothing worth caring about. Still, I held it a second too long. Night shift does strange things to your mind. You eat lunch while other people make coffee. You forget if Wednesday happened or only appeared on a schedule. So I made coffee instead of accusations. I drank it at the sink, staring at my tiny patio, telling myself a new house had noises, drafts, habits I hadn't learned yet. Then my desk drawer stuck. It was the shallow one in the second bedroom, where I kept stamps, charger cords, old tax forms, and paperwork I didn't want lying around. I always pushed it closed until it clicked because the track was crooked. Now the left side sat out about a finger's width. I opened it. Nothing was missing, but the envelopes had shifted. Not messy exactly, just wrong. Like someone had tried to rebuild my order from memory. I laughed once, sharpened, embarrassed. Great, I said to the empty room. Now I'm investigating stamps. After that, I slept badly. Every pipe knock lifted me out of dreams. Every card or sounded like it had shut in my driveway. The first time I came home early, a conveyor belt had jammed and management sent half of us home before midnight. I was annoyed about losing hours until I reached the back door. It wasn't open. It wasn't broken. But on the little concrete square outside sat my old gray sneakers, the ones I kept in the laundry closet for yard work. They were wet. The left shoe leaned sideways. Fresh mud clung to the soles and left two small tracks near the door. Rain ticked against the fence. My kitchen waited dark behind the glass. I unlocked the door slowly and called, "Hello?" No one answered, but the lemon smell was there again, beneath the damp mud. And for the first time, I didn't feel tired. I felt watched. I didn't call the police. That was the part I kept circling later, because deep down I already knew it was a stranger. A stranger would have taken the television. A stranger wouldn't rinse a coffee mug and put it in the wrong cabinet. A stranger wouldn't know I kept my old sneakers behind the laundry basket. After 3 hours of broken sleep, I called Mom. She answered, breathless. "Honey, everything okay? Did you come by my place yesterday?" The pause was small, but it landed hard. "No," she said. "Why?" "My shoes were outside the back door. Wet." The thermostat was changed again. Papers in my desk were moved. "Oh, Lucas," she said my name like I was sick and refusing medicine. "Are you sure you didn't do it and forget? Working nights can do strange things to your mind. I didn't put muddy shoes outside in the rain and forget. I'm not saying you did, but she was." I could hear the soft trapping paper she put around out. "Maybe maintenance came by? I own the place." "Mom, there's no maintenance." Another pause. Then, quietly, "Please don't start something with Grant right now." I stared at the bed slide in my blinds. "I didn't mention Grant." "I know. But you get a tone." "A tone?" "HES under pressure. His hours got cut again. Don't make him feel accused." That was how it always ended. Mom hurting. Grant excused. Me becoming the problem for noticing the problem. After we hung up, I opened the allergy pills in my bathroom cabinet. The label faced out because I liked things where I left them. There should have been around 15. 6 rattled in the bottle. At Sunday breakfast, Grant slid into the diner booth grinning under his ball cap. The place smelled like burned coffee and syrup, and Mom kept folding her napkin into smaller squares. "Heard you've got a ghost," he said. "Someone's been in my house." "Casper with a cleaning habit?" "I'm serious." "So am I. New house turned you into an old man. Next you'll yell at clouds." Mom murmured. "Grant." I looked at him. "Do you have Mom's spare key?" His eyes flicked to her before he smiled again. "Why would I have your key?" That wasn't an answer. Sometimes she hands me her keys when I fix stuff. Maybe yours is on there. I don't taught it the ring. Have you used it? For what? To steal your claret and unfluff your pillows? Mom touched my wrist. Eat something. Honey. I pulled away too fast. Her face changed. And guilt hit me before I could stop it. When I got home, the house looked normal. That made it worse. I stood in the living room with my boots still on, scanning corners like a man searching for proof he was crazy. The sofa blanket was draped over the arm, but not the way I left it. I lifted it and caught a sharp floral perfume. Not Mom's powdery church scent. Not anything of mine. In my desk, a bank statement sat upside down on top of the stack. I took pictures: the drawer, the pill bottle, the blanket. A photo couldn't capture a smell. But it was all I had. That night, Mom texted the family chat, praying we all have patience with each other. Grant sent a laughing emoji. I typed, someone is entering my house without permission. Mom's 3 dots appeared, vanished, appeared again. Finally, let's talk when everyone is calmer. Grant wrote, lock your doors. Sherlock. I set the phone face down. Outside, headlights moved slowly across my cabinets like hands. For the first time since I bought the place, the quiet didn't feel like mine. It felt like something holding its breath. The next morning, I didn't go to bed after my shift. I sat in the driveway with the engine off, watching my own windows like they belonged to somebody else. Dawn made the townhouse look harmless: pale siding, small maple by the walk. Welcome that Mom had bought me with a choemi fading at the corners. I kept thinking about the bank statement, not the money. There wasn't much to take. It was the looking, the idea of someone standing where I stood, opening what I opened, deciding my privacy was a thing they could borrow. Inside, I left the lights off and moved slowly. No stomping. No calling Grant so he could laugh. No texting Mom and getting one of her wounded sentences that somehow made me feel guilty for asking. In the kitchen, the blue mug sat on the wrong shelf. I touched the handle with 2 fingers, then let go. Okay, I whispered. I went room by room with my phone camera. In the laundry closet, my old sneakers were back in place, but the laces had been tucked inside. I never did that. On top of the dryer was a long gray hair, curved like a question mark. Not mine. Not Grant's. I stood there holding it on my fingertip, feeling foolish and sick. Proof that small doesn't comfort you. It only makes the questions sharper. I slid it into his sandwich bag and wrote laundry closet. Tuesday with a Sharpie. That should have made me laugh. It didn't. At 10, I drove 2 towns over to a hardware store where nobody would know my family. I bought the cheap indoor cameras, batteries, and a door sensor for the back entrance. The cashier asked if I needed help setting them up. No, I said too fast. I'm good. In the parking lot, I read the instructions 3 times with the box on my lap. My hands stayed steady until I saw the little drawing of a smiling family using the camera to watch their dog. I didn't have a dog. I had a mother who wouldn't answer clearly and a brother who treated my fear like entertainment. Back home, I put one camera on the bookshelf across from the front door, half hidden behind a photo of Dad holding a fish at Lake Carlisle. He'd been gone 9 years, but in that picture he still looked ready to step out and ask why everyone was acting so strange. The second camera went in the hall behind a fake plant I regretted buying. I fixed the sensor to the back door, then set little traps that made me feel childish until they made me feel calmer. Clear tape across the desk drawer, a dime balanced inside my bedroom door, a pencil mark on the thermostat, a faint dusting of flour by the laundry closet. Not enough for anyone to notice, enough for me. By noon, exhaustion pressed behind my eyes, but I couldn't sleep in the bedroom. I lay on the sofa in my work jacket with the television muted and my phone on my chest. For hours, nothing happened. A delivery truck passed. The furnace clicked on. The house made normal sounds, like it was trying to apologize. App for Tina. Mom called. You sound tired, she said. I am. A pause. Grant says you're still upset. I stared at the hallway camera. Its red light hidden under a plastic leaf. Did you give him my key? No, she said. Too fast. Mom, I said quietly. I need the truth. A spoon touched a mug on her end. Her TV murmured in the background. I am telling you. I didn't argue. I let the silence sit there. Finally she whispered. You boys used to share everything. We're not boys anymore. Her breath shook. And for 1 second I almost apologized just to make that sound stop. Then my phone buzzed. Back door opened. The call was still connected. Mom was breathing in my ear. I stood, careful and cold. Mom, I asked, where are you right now? She didn't answer. From the back hallway came one soft step. I moved down the hall with my phone still pressed to my ear. Every board in that house had its own complaint. I knew which ones popped and which ones sighed. Whoever was inside didn't. The next step landed near the laundry closet. Careful but wrong. And the sound went straight to my chest. Mom, I whispered. Answer me. On the line, I heard her breathe once. Then the call ended. I rounded the corner fast, ready to shout. Grant stood by my back door, not reaching for the silverware. Not halfway through a window. Just standing in my kitchen with one hand on the knob and the other holding my spare key on that old blue Titan's KK. For one stupid second, relief almost buckled my knees. Then anger took its place. What the hell are you doing? I said. Grant flinched. His bowl cap was pulled low, and his face looked rough, older than it had at breakfast. He glanced toward my living room, then back at me. You scared me, he said. I scared you? Keep your voice down. That stopped me more than an apology would have. Cold air slid past him from the cracked door. Wet leaves clung to his boots. On the counter, beside my mail, sat a small brown pharmacy bag from Lark Street. A bag I hadn't put there. What's that? Nothing. I crossed the kitchen and grabbed it before he could. Inside were sleep gummies, antacid, and a weekly pill organizer with big letters on the lids. TWTFS. I stared at it. Grant rubbed both hands over his face. You weren't supposed to be home, he said. The sentence was so clean, so guilty. My skin went cold. I looked at the cocaine in his fist. How long? He didn't answer. How long have you been letting yourself into my house? It's not like that. You opened my drawers. No, my medicine's missing. His eyes flicked, just once, toward the bathroom hall. There it was. That tiny betrayal. I laughed. But it came out broken. You absolute piece of. Listen to me. No, you listen. My voice rose. You've been walking in here like you own the place, touching my stuff, going through my papers, then sitting across from me making jokes. His jaw tightened. For once, Grant had no comeback. I was checking on things, he said. Checking on what? He looked past me toward the fake plant where it hidden the camera. I saw the moment he noticed it. Not surprise, not fear, annoyance. You recorded? He asked. Yeah. He closed his eyes like I had betrayed him. That did it. I stepped closer. Give me the key. Not right now. I held out my hand. Give me the key. Grant. He backed toward the open door. You're making this worse. Worse than finding you sneaking into my house? I can't explain it right now. Because Mom told you not to? His mouth opened, then shut. There was my answer. Or what I thought was my answer. Mom had lied. Grant had lied. They had built a little room behind my back and locked me outside. My phone buzzed again. A text from Mom. Please don't yell at him. HES trying to help. My throat tightened until it hurt. Grant reached for the screen. Don't. I jerked away. Get out. Just let me. Get out of my house. He stood there breathing hard, the spare key still curled in his fist. Then he set the pharmacy bag on the counter. Gentle as an apology, he wouldn't say. At the threshold, he looked back. You don't know what you're looking at, he said quietly. I slammed the deadbolt between us. Through the glass, I watched him cross my little patio and disappear around the fence. Only then did I notice my hands were shaking. The spare key was still gone. And on my counter, the pill organizer sat empty. Every bright plastic lid snapped open like 7 little mouths. I didn't sleep that night. At 6, I drove to Mom's with the pharmacy bag on the passenger seat. 3 bottles rattled inside every time I turned. Blood pressure, cholesterol, a sleep medication with a red warning label. None of them were mine. Her street was gray and quiet. Trash bins lined along the curb. The porch light was still on though morning had already begun. Grant's truck sat in the driveway, so I parked behind it. He opened the door before I knocked. Same hoodie as last night. Hair smashed on one side, eyes bloodshot. "You shouldn't be here," he said. I lifted the bag. "Then you should have picked a better hiding place." "Keep your voice down." Something in me snapped. "I found you in my house," I said, "with a key I never gave you, carrying Mom's medication, after she lied to me on the phone. You don't get to tell me how loud to be." From the living room, Mom called, "Is that him?" Not my name. Just him. I pushed past Grant. She was in Dad's old recliner with a blanket over her knees, though the room was warm. One silver clip hung loose in her hair. On the side table satin-touched tea, a folded napkin beneath it like she'd prepared for company and hoped manners could save her. When she saw the pharmacy bag, her face folded. "Oh, sweetheart." I hated how close I came to softening. "Don't," I said. "Not unless you're ready to tell me the truth." Grant shut the door. The click sounded final. Mom looked at him. "I told you he'd be upset. You told me a lot of things," I said, "including that you didn't give him my key." She stared down at the blanket. The wall clock above the TV ticked hard in the silence. Dad had fixed it twice with a butter knife, muttering like the clock had personally insulted him. I remembered Grant making faces behind his back while I tried not to laugh. Back when secrets were small. "Mom," I said, quieter. "Why was he in my house?" Her fingers twisted in the blanket. "Because I asked him to check." "Check what?" Grant stepped in. "It's complicated." "No," I said, turning on him. "You both decided I didn't deserve to know what was happening in my own home. That's simple. You work nights," he said. "You were exhausted, stressed about the mortgage. I didn't want to dunk more on you. So you used my key and let me think I was losing my mind." He flinched. Mom began to cry. Small and controlled. "I've been forgetting," she said. The anger in my chest didn't vanish. It changed weight. "Forgetting what?" "Bills. Pills. Whether I turned the stove off." She wiped her cheek with the heel of her hand. "Sometimes I go somewhere and then I don't know why I went." I gripped the back of the couch. "The wet shoes at my back door," I said. Mom closed her eyes. Grant answered, voice low. "She walked to your place in the rain. She thought Dad was there." For a second the room tilted. "Dad's been dead 9 years." "I know," Grant said. And his voice cracked. "She knows too. Most of the time." Mom looked at me then, and I saw fear I'd never seen in her before. Not at Dad's funeral. Not when the basement flooded. This was quieter and worse. "I didn't want you looking at me different," she whispered. I sat, because my knees didn't trust me. "You let me be scared in my own house," I said. Grant looked at the floor. "I thought I was protecting everyone." "No," I said. "You were protecting the version where you were the only one strong enough to know." He swallowed and said nothing. Mom reached toward me, then stopped halfway. Her hand trembled in the air. I wanted to take it. I wanted to leave. Both feelings stood inside me at once. "You should have told me," I said. Grant nodded, slow and ashamed. Mom whispered, "I'm sorry." No one moved. The tea cooled. The clock ticked. Morning light touched the empty spot where Dad's boots used to sit. For once, the silence wasn't hiding anything. It was waiting for us to decide what kind of family we were going to be now. Grant was the first one to move. He crossed to the little desk by the window, opened the bottom drawer, and pulled out a blue folder with corners worn soft. For a second he held it to his chest like he was bracing for a hit. Then he handed it to me. "I was looking through your papers for money," he said. "I was looking for this." Inside were appointment notes, a pharmacy receipt, and a letter from a neurologist dated for months earlier. Mom's name sat at the top. Beneath it were words that made the room go hollow. Mild cognitive impairment. Further evaluation recommended. Memory episodes. Wandering risk. I read them twice. Then a third time. As if they might rearrange into something less awful. You knew in March? I asked. Grant rubbed his face with both hands. She made me promise not to tell you until she was ready. Mom stared at the tissue in her lap, folded into a tiny square the way she did in church when she was trying not to cry. I thought it was stress, she said. Then grief. Then I forgot where I parked at Kroger and sat in the car, after I found it because I couldn't remember driving there. Grant started to speak, but I raised my hand. No, let her talk. She looked smaller in that chair, swallowed by her robe in the pale morning light. I went to your house, because I saw your father's watch on your dresser. She whispered. My watch? His watch. The old Timex. I thought he had left it there. I thought if I brought it home, he would stop being angry with me. The cold in my chest spread slowly. Dad's watch had been in a shoebox in my closet since I moved in. I hadn't unpacked it because I was ready to hear it tick again. Grant's voice cracked. She called me from your kitchen that first time. She didn't know where she was. I closed my eyes. The thermostat, the porch light, the open mail, the muddy shoes by the back door. Not a thief. Not Grant creeping through my life just to prove he could. My mother, frightened and ashamed, trying to make the wrong house feel like the right year. But my bank statement? I asked, because some stubborn part of me still needed one ordinary thing to blame. That was me, Grant said. She found an old insurance letter with Dad's name on it and panicked. I was trying to find account numbers before she called somebody and gave information away. And the allergy pills? She took them by mistake. Thought they were her sleep meds. After that, I started checking both houses. The empty pill organizer flashed in my mind. Every lid open, bright and accusing. You should have told me, I said, but softer now. The words had changed shape. They weren't a weapon anymore. They were a wound. Grant nodded. His eyes were wet. And this time he let them be. I know. Mom reached into her robe pocket and pulled out my spare key. The old football keychain angled from it, scratched silver showing through the paint. I took it from Grant last night, she said. I wanted to bring it back before you hated him. I stared at the key in her open palm. All night I had built my brother into the villain because I needed someone strong enough to hold my anger. But the truth was worse and kinder than that. Grant hadn't been sneaking in to violate my life. He had been trying, badly and secretly, to keep Mom from disappearing inside hers. And Mom hadn't lied because she didn't care that I was afraid. She had lied because she was terrified I would see her fear. I took the key, but I didn't put it in my pocket. I set it on the table between us. No more secrets, I said. Grant lowered his head. Mom covered her mouth. I mean it. If we're scared, we say we're scared. If she forgets, we write it down. If you're overwhelmed, you call me. But nobody gets to make decisions for me by keeping me stupid. Grant whispered, fair. Mom's voice was barely there. I didn't want to become a problem. I leaned forward and took her shaking hand. You're not a problem, I said. But this is one. And we're done pretending it isn't. That afternoon, none of us went to work. Grant called his supervisor from Mom's kitchen. One hand flat on the counter as if it was holding him upright. Family medical issue, he said. And for once there was no charm in his voice. No little speech to make himself sound useful. I sat with Mom and wrote down every medication bottle she carried from the bathroom cabinet. Some were expired. One had 2 pills left when the refill date said it should have been half full. I thought I was doing better than this, she whispered. I kept the pen. I think you were doing your best. Grant came back in, pale and quiet. Neurology can see her next Thursday if we take a cancellation. We? I asked. He swallowed. If you want to come. I'm coming. Mom looked between us like any loud word might break the room. I turned to Grant. What I said about you never being alone with my future kid was cruel. I was angry, and I wanted to hurt you back. His eyes shone, but he stayed still. I'm sorry for that, I said. But I'm not sorry I took my key back. And I'm not sorry I'm done with secrets. He nodded once. You shouldn't be. For the first time all day, I believed him. Then we started doing small, practical things because nobody knew what else to do. I taped a medication list to Mom's fridge beside her grocery coupons. Grant found a red plastic file box in the hall closet, and we put the doctor letters, insurance cards, pharmacy printouts, and appointment calendar inside. Mom stared at the box. I'm still here. I know, I said, sliding the marker toward her. Then help us label it. Her hand shook as she wrote MEDICIL in large crooked letters. The next morning, a locksmith came to my townhouse. Grant stood on the porch while the old brass deadbolt came off and the black keypad lock went in. I can pay half, he said. No, this one's mine. Fair, he said softly. I made one emergency code, sealed it in an envelope, and put it in Mom's red file box, not in Grant's wallet, not under a flower pot. Access was the same thing as love. Before he left, Grant touched the porch rail. I liked being the guy who knew what to do. I didn't know how to stop. I looked at my new lock catching the light. Now we stop each other. When I went back inside, my house was quiet, still mine. But the silence no longer felt empty. It felt protected. 3 months later, Mom moved into a small assisted living apartment 2 blocks from her church. She called it my dorm room. And Grant laughed, then wiped his eyes like he was only tired. She still had clear days. On one of them, she and Grant came to my house with a foil-wrapped loaf of banana bread held against her chest. The doorbell rang. That sound mattered. I opened the door. Mom stood on the porch in her blue cardigan, lipstick a little crooked, waiting until I smiled. Am I early? She asked. Right on time. Grant lifted his phone. I texted first. I said. It was a joke. But it was a fight. For us. That counted. Inside, sunlight lay across the kitchen floor. Mom noticed Dad's Timex on the shelf by the window. Repaired and ticking again. She touched the glass with 2 fingers. He always forgot to wind it. She said. No, I said softly. You reminded him. She blinked, then nodded. That sounds right. We ate banana bread on paper plates. Grant told me about her doctor's visit without performing. I told him about work without bracing for the interruption. When they left, Mom hugged me hard. Thank you for letting me in, she whispered. I watched them walk slowly to the car. I hadn't taken back my key to keep my family out. I took it back so I could learn how to open the door at the right time. For the right people. And for the truth.